Hey guys, today I'm going to tell you, or show you rather, how I refit t-shirts to my exact size. So normally I'll wear, if it's a unisex shirt, I wear a small, but since I'm pregnant, actually about 6 months pregnant, the smalls aren't working anymore. So what I did was I took my regular pattern and I just put some extensions in it and kind of fitted it to the belly. So today I'm going to show you how I do that. And this shirt is actually from a unisex large. So today you're going to see how to refit a t-shirt. Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to cut down a unisex t-shirt into a fitted t-shirt. So this is one that I already did. It was from about a medium size, I think. It usually takes me a medium to get my size of a fitted t-shirt. I can't do it from a small because it just doesn't work right, especially with the design and the neckline and stuff. So I usually start with a medium, and then this is a pattern that I made from a t-shirt that fit well, that I really liked. I kind of sacrificed it, cut it into a front, a back, and then sleeves, obviously. So that is what it's going to look like when it's finished. Okay, so now I have cut the sleeves off, and I cut the collar off. You want to keep the collar intact, so don't cut it like this at all. You just want to cut around it. Yeah, I've got the sleeves off, and then I also cut the shoulder seams here. So those are cut. I did not cut the side seams. So if this were a normal shirt that I was making, I would just go ahead and cut these like right along here, right up the side like that, and cut them evenly. But because I'm making a maternity shirt, the front needs to have a lot more room than the back. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of measuring here and eyeballing to see where I'm going to end up cutting that. But what I'll probably do is cut it somewhere in here, so that way the front has more room than the back, but we'll see. Okay guys, it looks like I'm not going to have a whole lot of extra room in the back, so unfortunately we're just going to have to work with what's here. So I've laid this out where it should be, and then I put a little extra in here, a little extra width, but where I really need the width is at the bottom, where the hips are. So I added a little bit down here too. Okay, you can see here I've got all my pieces laid out with the pattern pieces on top. So what I did is I just folded each piece in half, and then these are like half patterns. You put this on the fold line, and then it'll open up into a full piece. So what I've done, I'm just going to show you a couple things here. First of all, this is the back, and generally I want to put it up as much as possible so that I have more hem down here. I always leave the hem just like it is so I don't have to bother with the hem. But the important thing is that you want to make sure these two pieces match. So for example, there's about 4 inches here and 5 inches here, and 5 inches over here, and then there's 4 inches here and 5 inches here, so those side seams are going to match up. That's the most important. And then wherever they fall on top is where they fall. I just like to have as much bottom part as possible. And the other thing is you want to make sure your designs are completely covered by your pattern. So like this has an eagle on the back, and it would be pretty bad if the eagle was like way over here or way up here or way down here or something. So you want to make sure that is going to look okay. I did that. This just had a little Menards emblem thing up there. So, and then also same thing with the sleeves. I always want more length. Unfortunately this sleeve is pretty short, so that's going to be short anyways. However, I did move it up as far as I could and made sure I covered the logo thing here. And now I'm just going to cut all these pieces out, and I'll show you later how I assemble them all. Okay, so I've got the pieces cut out. There's the back, there's the front, and then we've got a sleeve up there. Now the most time-consuming part of this whole project is going to be taking the collar off with a seam ripper. See how there's still like a raw edge here? You're going to want to take that off. I have tried just cutting it off, but then what happens is you need a seam allowance, and if that seam allowance isn't there, your collar is really narrow and it looks kind of weird. So I always put in the 15 or 20 minutes that it takes to manually take all this stuff off, just so there's a seam allowance there when you put the shirt back together. Right here you can see that I've cleaned up the collar a lot. I do my best to leave at least one seam along the bottom, because that way it just stays folded, and it stays folded evenly. So that's the collar. Now I'm going to sew up the side seams and also those top shoulder seams. Put these two pieces together. As always, you want to put right sides together. And then one thing sometimes I run into is the side seams aren't exactly identical. So sometimes I have to, when I get kind of to down here, I'll have to stretch it on one side or the other to make them even, but that's not a big deal, I don't think. And I'm going to use a zigzag stitch for this, except for the start and the finish, so it doesn't unravel as easily. I'll just do a regular straight stitch for about 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom, but all the rest of it is going to be zigzag. So I have sewn the side seams, you can see there, and also the shoulder seams. And now I'm going to put in the sleeves. This is a little more difficult, especially if you're eyeballing it. And like for example, this sleeve looks like it's not quite going to be big enough to meet this without a little stretching. So I'm probably going to have to stretch that. But what I've done is I've turned these right side out. Okay, the rest of the shirt is inside out, but this needs to be right side out. And then you're going to just slide it right in that armhole there, like I've done here. And I don't know if you can see that or not. It's in there, but it's very important to be able to, it's very important to turn this right side out, because when you sew it in, when you go around that circle, then this seam is going to be on the inside next to the other seam. So if you leave this turned inside out and then insert it in that armhole and sew it around, you're going to have your seams, one of them is going to be showing and the other isn't. So that's really important. I'm going to do that real quick and then we'll move on to the collar. Sometimes it can be helpful to pin the inside seam of the sleeve with the inside seam of the shirt, and then also pin the top of the sleeve to the shoulder seam of the shirt. That way if you have to stretch it at all, and this one I'm going to have to stretch, you'll know that you'll be stretching it evenly. Alright guys, I have put the sleeves onto the shirt and it is all done. I actually went through and trimmed up some of the seams too, so there wasn't as much bulk there. And now all that's left to do is put on the collar, and this is definitely the hardest part. So most collars will have a seam somewhere here, and you'll want that seam to be kind of on the side in the back, so right there. And then you're just gonna basically just sew it on. I don't know how else to explain it, but you want to line it up first to make sure you're going to have either enough collar or enough neckline so that they match. And if they don't match, for example, this one actually looks like the collar might be too big. So I might have to take that in a little bit until it matches. And then I'll sew it on. Here you can see I have sewed on the collar. And I did end up using the whole collar. I didn't take any of it in. So it fit pretty well. One thing you can do that will help is to pin the center of the collar to the center of the front, and then do the same thing in the back. That way it's going to have an even stretch all the way around. So honestly, these are the only 2 pins I used, but you can also put some here and here and here and all the way around if you're worried about the stretch being uneven. There are a few other things you can do with your t-shirt that I've chosen not to do with this one because it's really a short-term t-shirt. I'm just going to wear it for the next 3 months, and then probably I will not wear it again, or I'll put it back with my maternity clothes. So some other things you can do if you have the time though is top stitching around the collar here. Now on a regular t-shirt you're going to see the top stitching underneath. So underneath here is my seam, and I would just sew right on top of that, and that would create the top stitching for the collar. And then also you'll notice on regular t-shirts they have extra top stitching in the back, and that's just to keep it kind of strong because the back is where it gets the most stress. I usually don't do that even if I do have the time, because like I said, these are just around the house shirts. I mean, I do wear them out sometimes, but usually it's just around the house. And the other thing that you can do is top stitch along the shoulder. You'll notice on regular t-shirts that's what they do. So those are some ideas if you want to go the extra mile. I didn't with this shirt because it's a short-term t-shirt. I just wanted something that would fit and be comfortable for the next 3 months or so. So that is what I have to say about fitting your own t-shirt.